I mean, so much of communication is nonverbal. The vast majority of communication is nonverbal. So if you share a rhythmic language, for instance, if you have that kind of empathy with someone, it's easy to kind of go back and forth as substituting that as the language, I find. If I'm passing through and I'm on a tour and I'm being featured somewhere, people come to you.
Okay.
You know, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about touring, is that people come to you. And I'm not a very good tourist. I very seldom go anywhere as a tourist. I'm just not good at it. And it doesn't interest me that much. I'd much rather be working so that I have this kind of relationship with local people. You understand what I'm saying?
I see. I see. Yep.
So by touring, it fills that box.
Checks that box. Yeah.
And so it puts me in these situations. So then I might be invited to somebody's house for a meal or something, and they're singing a song, and I start doing body music with them. Suddenly we're in this relationship, and then it could go from there.
Listen to this next Agile Vocalist episode. Agile Vocalist is a podcast and blog about sound and the performing arts with a California connection.
Inspired by a generation of great U.S. jazz tap dancers he was accompanying in the 1970s, drummer Keith Terry stood up from behind his drums and dove head-on into body music, a term he coined in 1978. Keith regularly travels the world performing and teaching in a wide range of settings, from villages in Bali to New York City's Lincoln Center. Keith is a Guggenheim Fellow and the founding artistic director of Oakland, California-based arts organization Crosspulse since 1979, and the International Body Music Festival, launched by Crosspulse in 2008 to explore the language of body music from culture to culture. The International Body Music's full festivals and mini-fests have been produced in the U.S., Brazil, Turkey, Indonesia, Ibiza, France, Canada, Italy, Greece, and Ghana. Keith Terry has produced more than a dozen recordings, DVDs, and books for Crosspulse Media.
Yeah, I feel like body music is, the oldest music. It's older than dirt. I didn't create it. I created a style.
A style of it. Okay.
And I kind of maybe brought it into the century or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
was it lost?
No, it wasn't lost. There are all these traditional styles that exist.
Was it lost in this country versus other countries? No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Like I said, there are traditional styles all over the world and have been for a long time. So I think what I did was create a style and kind of brought it into a contemporary context.
Okay.
With new composition, rather than traditional styles.
Okay. I'd love for those listening if you could give us a sample of some of the rhythms that you do, some of the things that you do. I got a little taste of it from talking to Evie. Just something that's educational for the listener who's coming at this with no background at all.
Of traditional styles?
Yeah.
Well, in the United States, we have Hambone, traditional African-American style that grew out of slavery, actually. Maybe you know the story.
I do know the story, but I want you to tell it.
I think it's generally agreed upon. Is 1739, there was a rebellion of enslaved people along the Stono River in the Carolinas. It became known as the Stono Rebellion. And as a way of suppressing the rebellion, the owners of these enslaved people took away their drums because they were using the drums to incite the revolution, and also they were communicating ideas over long distances. So without their drums, they displaced or replaced their rhythms on their bodies. And Hambone was born. So that was kind of the early 1700s. And Hambone has a lot of vocabulary that's very characteristic to, so it's like iconic to Hambone. There's pat and juba. Pat in juba, or patting juba. Pat and juba.
How do you spell that?
Patting. J-U-B-A.
Batting Juba.
Yeah, Juba was a dancer, and apparently he was really remarkable. And his name appears a lot in folklore. Also, when he was released from slavery, apparently he toured the world as a performer. He was so spectacular.
Wow.
So his name comes up a lot, and that rhythm's named for him. The classic Hambone rhythm that people think of sounds like this. And another part that you hear, clapping chest, and a one, and a two, and a three, and a four. The thing I love about this rhythm is it's the same as the swing rhythm that later appeared in jazz.
Yeah, got it.
So I think it came right out of West Africa and got expressed through the drumming and then into Hambone and then later into jazz.
What do you know? I'm just curious about how you said the drums, before they were taken away, were used to communicate ideas over distance. Do you know of any stories of this method somehow being amplified in a way to try to make up for that? Or did it all sort of become a little bit more person to person, like how the distance was to communicate was you know, these on the body rhythms?
Well, they still use talking drums. I mean, today.
Okay.
They're like talking drums.
Right.
You know? And in places where there are tonal languages, these drums really lend themselves to this perfectly. You know, it's like they can imitate the voice in that way. So they were used to, broadcast over long distance. So the neighboring village, for instance, might hear this news and, an alert, there's an attack or something, this kind of information.
How did you happen upon this as work, as career, as passion? Where did it start for you?
For me, like the very beginning, I was playing in school bands.
Okay.
And
as a drummer?
As a drummer.
Okay.
And we always had good bands because I grew up in Texas. There's always a good marching band because it supports football.
I gotcha. Okay.
So there's always money.
Okay.
There's always a good band program. And I had a great band director, Pete Rodriguez, and he saw talent in me, and he nourished that and encouraged it and created situations that would challenge me and help me grow. He hooked me up with a private teacher when he was could no longer kind of push me ahead with the drumming. He found a teacher for me at Southern Methodist University, where I ended up going to school. I got a scholarship there, a music scholarship. Throughout high school, I was in the marching band. I loved jazz band. I didn't care that much for marching band, but I had to be in a marching band in order to be in the jazz band. So that was a trade-off for me. Okay. But I loved playing the drum set with a big band. It was fun. We always had good bands. And then I went to college, and I was playing in the marching band, but also played in the jazz band, big band. And I was there for a couple of years, but then I quit to play more music, and I went to New York. I was playing in a band there at school. We found each other in school, and we ended up going to New York and recording and having an amazing adventure of meeting Stevie Wonder and Stephen Stills and Wicked Lester, who became Kiss, and Mahavishnu Orchestra. We had encounters with Miles Davis. I mean, it was for a green kid coming out of Texas, it was an amazing time. It was really an amazing time. Very, very influential on my life.
Well, I realize that I got Oh, Gypsy. Way up in my tree, I'm sitting by my fire, wondering where in the world you might be. And knowing all the time, still sitting in the countryside, you still think about me. Oh, my gypsy.
The band was recording with the producer who worked at Electric Lady
Studios,
which was,
yeah.
Jimi Hendrix studio. And,
Yeah.
and Jimi Hendrix had died a couple of years before, so it still had his vibe really strong. And it was on, is it 4th Street or 8th Street in the village? And you would enter on the street level and then go down under the street, and everything was underground.
Oh, wow.
And it was this amazing spaceship-like, I say building, but it was more than a building. It was like a ship. And there were 2 studios and amazing murals, and just like the most fantastic vibes. And so many great musicians were in and out of there.
Right.
And at the time that we were there all summer recording. Stevie Wonder was working on Talking Book. And we had finished our session for the day. We were in the lobby, we were hanging out. And can I say this? We were smoking
Absolutely.
joint.
Yeah.
And I look up, and coming down the stairs into the lobby was Stevie Wonder with his entourage behind him.
Right.
And so he stops at the bottom step before stepping into the studio, into the lobby where we were, and he sniffs and says, "I can smell it." So that became an often quoted line, to this day. It's just, I can smell it. I can still see Stevie standing there saying this.
Wow.
So there was a little hubbub, and he went into the studio. I went into the studio because I needed to pull the drums out. I was done with my session that day. And he sat down at the piano before he started playing and said, "Stevie," and I remember thinking, do I say Mr. Wonder? Do I say Mr. Stevie? I did say Stevie. I said, "Stevie, do you mind, I'm here to get my drums, but do you mind if I listen for a minute?" He said, "No, it's fine." So for like 2 minutes, I stood at the end of the piano while he played. And I was like 19 years old.
Wow.
Maybe 20.
That's
at the
amazing.
oldest.
Yeah.
And it blew me away. It's one of those moments in life that I will never forget.
Wow. What was the name of that band? I don't think you actually shared the
The name of the band was
Wait.
Joint Effort.
a joint effort.
Just joint effort. Not,
Joint effort.
Mhm.
Well, so the smoking was just
Right. We were branding.
you were branding, right?
Joint effort. I can smell it, right?
Did you use that?
No.
And so you did some sessions at Electric Lady.
Yeah, we did. We were there all summer. We were found by a finder in Texas.
Oh.
This producer in New York had sent out this finder, and he was traveling around, and he found us.
Okay.
And he hooked us up with the producer.
He found you at a local club in your
Yeah.
small town.
No, we were in Dallas,
You were in
and
Dallas.
Austin. I think he heard us in Austin.
Oh,
when we
okay.
were playing there at the maybe the Longhorn Jazz Festival. I think that's where
Okay.
we were playing that. And it was a good band. And we were doing really well in Texas. We had quite a nice following. And so he found us, and we ended up going to New York for the summer. We recorded enough for 3 LPs. We had a lot of original music.
Okay.
And there was a lot of interest, but at that time, I felt like we were just ahead of the curve. It was kind of fusion music before there was much fusion music. And the response we got from the major labels that we were in discussion with is they liked it, they just didn't quite know what to do with it. And
they were trying to pigeonhole it into
yeah,
something.
well, they did, how do they sell it?
How do they sell it?
And, and it's the sort of thing where then like 5 years later, I was hearing a lot of music that reminded me of this stuff. It it just wasn't its time, you know.
Right.
And so it never took off. I mean, we played some wonderful gigs. We played the Newport Jazz Festival. We did a lot of stuff while we were in New York and met all these amazing people. You know?
That's cool. We're given movies about rock stars or whatever, but what's your version of what is it like to be found? What is that experience when a finder finds you? Is it someone just walks up and says, I'm blah, 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 and I'm looking for new talent? Is it as basic as that, or is there something else to it?
No, it was as basic as that.
Okay. I just thought
And, you know, and then we had a lot of conversations. We hung out and we talked a lot.
A lot.
And he kept coming to our shows. He'd have questions. He was finding out how we worked and what our work ethic was and how do we rehearse. He was interested in all that. He wanted to know that we were serious because they were going to put money behind us.
I got you.
You know?
See, I did not know that.
And so they were interested in the talent, but they wanted to know. He just wanted to know how we did things.
Sure. Are you
who
organized?
we were.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Does everybody, do you have regular rehearsal times? And
Exactly.
do you
All
have
that stuff. What's your discipline?
Yeah. Okay. What was your discipline? Did you change
played,
anything once he was
music
watching?
All the time. We just lived for the music.
Okay.
And we lived together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we could do that.
So you had some suppers with him. Something, right?
Well, I'm not sure we were cooking much, but
right.
how well we were eating in those days.
Right.
But
sure.
we played a lot of music, and that's really what we were after.
Okay. And so joint effort was how many? 3? 4?
Yeah, 6.
Oh, 6?
Yeah, there were 6 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that drums? Is that you're on drums?
Yeah, I was on drums, keyboard player, someone on vibraphone.
Oh, the vibraphone.
Yeah, and percussion, but he played electric vibes.
Okay.
And then we had 3 other people who played guitars and bass.
Okay.
2 guitars and bass, and the 3 of them were all lead singers. So they had really strong vocals.
Oh, nice. Cool. Is any of that music findable?
I've recently come across in my storage. I've come across real tapes, but I have no way to play it. I'm really interested to have it transferred to see if the music kind of holds up over those years. Because I remember it being quite good. Of course, that was a long time ago.
That's a lot of levity towards your own. I wanted to ask about the birth of Crosspulse, and I wanted to confirm and hear it did go back. So the birth was 2008 was the first Body Music Festival.
Well, that was first Body Music Festival, but Crosspulse came into being in 1979.
Okay, let's talk. Let's talk about then.
It came into being in 1979, 1978, 1979, and it takes a while to get your nonprofit status. You're in a kind of a temporary situation for a while.
Yep.
But we were operating, until we had our own status, we were operating under the auspices of the fiscal sponsorship of New Performance Gallery, which is ODC.
Oh, okay.
So we've been associated with them for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
From the beginning of when they were building that first studio before they bought the other property.
Was that the one? There's
on Shotwell.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and I was in a group that opened that space before the floor was even finished. Jazz tap ensemble.
Okay.
3 tap dancers. Because the floor was unfinished, they let us tap on their floors. The only time there was tap dancing in there, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
Without
oh my gosh.
Special mat. But they were our fiscal sponsor. until we received our own.
Okay.
But we applied. We started the application process in 1978 or 1979, around there.
Mm-hmm.
And so Crosspulse has been producing work for a very long time.
Very long time. And so, what caused the birth of International Body Music Festival? Well,
that was much later, in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I've been touring a lot as a drummer with various people in the U.S. but also overseas, and meeting body musicians, mostly traditional practitioners in different places, and having jams and little collaborations, and just meeting these really amazing characters all over the world. I gotta say, body musicians are some of the most alive people I know. And so I was meeting all these great people, and it was early on just started thinking, wouldn't it be great to have a festival of this? Because at that point there had never been a festival dedicated to it.
Okay.
So in 2008, I received a Guggenheim Fellowship. And with the money, I used it to start the festival. And it's been going strong ever since.
How do you define alive?
Some of the most energetic and high-spirited, clear eyes, affectionate, physical, physical, hug you. It's like the Turks will kiss you on both cheeks. Just alive, full of life.
Any particular culture stand out for any reason? I mean,
it's not so much the culture. I'm really drawn to Southern Mediterranean. The Greeks, the Turks, the Spanish, the people from Portugal. Brazilians, in Southeast Asia, the Balinese. There are certain people, to generalize huge populations, I'm attracted to. Energetically, I feel like I can communicate with these people even though I don't necessarily speak the language. I resonate at a similar frequency.
So I guess that begs the question, did you ever have a collaboration where there was no shared verbal language?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, say more about that. Because how do you, how do you collaborate?
Call and response, you use translators where you have to.
Where you have to.
Where you have to, if you get stuck. But, yeah. So much of communication is nonverbal.
True.
The vast majority of communication is nonverbal. So if you share a rhythmic language, for instance, if you have that kind of empathy with someone, it's easy to kind of go back and forth substituting that as the language, I find.
And so, I'm just trying to put myself in the situation. So walk me through. You've got a translator or some way that you've communicated you want to work on a piece or something. How does it go?
It varies. If I'm passing through and I'm on a tour and I'm being featured somewhere, people come to you. That's the beautiful thing about touring, is that people come to you. And I'm not a very good tourist. I very seldom go anywhere as a tourist. I'm just not good at it. And it doesn't interest me that much. I'd much rather be working so that I have this kind of relationship with local people. You understand what I'm saying?
I see. Yep.
So by touring, it fills that box. It checks that box. Yeah. And so it puts me in these situations. So then I might be invited to somebody's house for a meal or something, and they're singing a song, and I start doing body music with them. Suddenly, we're in this relationship.
I got it. I got it.
And then it could go from there. That's just an instance. That has happened a lot.
Okay.
And they ended up at that meal because probably the host knew that they do this, and they saw that I did that.
Right.
They thought, these people should meet each other, and that's so often how it happens.
It's a different world for many of us. That's why I ask the questions, because it's it's a whole other world. That's a whole other paradigm. You just
Right. Right.
I mean, that's a.
It is, and it's special. It's really special, and
Yeah.
I appreciate it so much. You know, I know that it's special. I know that most people don't have this kind of experience. You
Right.
know, and
Right.
and I thrive on it. I love that so much.
When COVID hit, you what did you do? I mean, you kind of lost access to this clearly very passionate
Yeah.
core of your being.
Exactly. It was hard. It was hard
Yeah.
to be withdrawn from that. I have to mention that let's see, things shut down in February, was it?
For me, it was March, but some people it was February of 2020.
So I think it was in December, I was in Italy.
Okay, of 2019.
Right before the shutdown. I remember January, I was in Brazil.
Oh.
In February, I was in China. So I was in about 3 hot spots just before it all came down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so thankful that I didn't get stuck someplace.
Right.
Though
Right.
Brazil may have been fun, but... And Italy's great, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
Maybe it wouldn't have been so bad,
Right.
But it definitely would have changed my life, you know,
Yeah.
if I had gotten stuck there for months
Right.
or a year. Who knows?
Who knows?
You know, it's been a crazy ride, you know. But I didn't, and I was home, and it was great to be with family, and it was great to be in our house. Our backyard really saved us. I kept thinking, oh my God, what do people do with young children who don't even have a balcony, much less a backyard? What do you do in this situation? I kept thinking about that through the pandemic. But the backyard saved us. Just having outdoor space really saved us.
Was it getting
But-
your hands in the dirt, or was it just being out of the house?
It was being able to be outside,
Okay.
to be outdoors,
Okay.
and also digging in the dirt.
Oh.
Digging in the dirt always helps me.
Okay.
It's always the first thing I do after I come home from tour. Is put my hands in the dirt. It just grounds me, literally and figuratively. But it was really hard to sever that kind of connection that I have with people because it's so tactile, it's so physical, it's so
physical.
you know.
Yeah.
You don't get it from talking on the phone. You've got to be in proximity. There's something about the cellular synchronicity that happens with another person you know, that is really important to me. And it was hard. And I have a tendency towards depression at times. And so it was really hard, kind of that isolation was difficult. It was difficult on a lot of people.
Of
not
course.
just me.
Yeah.
It affected a lot of people, and I feel like it's. I'm still kind of dealing with that. I feel like it kind of warped me or changed me a lot. And I know a lot of people say this that in conversation with a lot of people that it had a lasting impact.
Not to ask the obvious question, but do you consider yourself an extrovert? Or
No,
Okay, all right.
I
That's
don't.
I wanted to make sure I wasn't incorrectly
I don't.
assuming. Okay.
no.
Okay.
It's funny. I can be very comfortable on stage,
Okay.
and I can be totally open. But I'm kind of a shy person actually. And if I'm not on stage, I'm shy. It's a weird thing. I can't explain it, you know.
Okay.
Con las cosas que tenemos en nuestra Colombia inmensa debemos estar contentos de ser una raza mezcla. Hablamos el español, que es una lengua de poetas, música y caña de indios, tambores de África negra. En los llanos de Colombia tenemos la raza fuerte, compuesta de campesinos, mujeres y hombres valientes. Cantan sus alegrías, dicen todo lo que sienten. Con el cuatro, las maracas, un arpa que es muy ardiente.
And body music connects us to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's
You're
tactile.
touching
You know, you hear it, you see it, you feel it. You know, if you're using a mirror, you know, you've got these three senses going.
Yes.
But also, I feel like when you do it with other people,
Yeah.
it has that effect as well, that connectivity. You know, that there's something about synchronization of everybody doing the same parts. You know, that it just aligns us and puts us in this state of communication that's really special, I think. Body music is being used, you know, therapeutically in so many ways these days. And that's one thing that I'm really excited about body music and seeing the evolution. Because when I started, it was about artistic and entertainment value.
Right.
And then it was started being used a lot in educational settings for kids and for adults and how to teach music and dance. But then in other areas of the curriculum like mathematics or geography or linguistics, and how to kind of plug it in with that for those kinesthetic learners. And now I'm seeing it used therapeutically, you know, from everything from stroke recovery to working with the deaf community, the blind community, refugees in prisons, troubled youth. You know, it's amazing to see it just keep opening up. Now, brain scientists are really interested in what's going on in the left-right brain shift and what happens with all that, and what happens with the neurology as a result of. So it's cool. Really exciting to have been around long enough to see it kind of move through all these areas, you know, and then wonder, well, what's it going to do next? You know, because I'm just following it. You know.
Okay. It almost feels like you started flying the dragon, but maybe now you're just hanging on to the tail. I don't know. I just
it has a life of its own, you know, clearly. So it's really fun to.
That's cool.
And exciting for me to see it just keep unfolding. It seems like a flower to me that just keeps unfolding into these different colors and shapes and things.
Right. And I read, and I don't know when the interview was from, but it was an interview with you where you said, I've realized in my age that I'm able to step back now and just watch it fly, watch it go.
Yeah, that's happening.
That's cool. That's cool. It's a nice legacy to leave the world with. Right? I mean, not that you're leaving the world, but I was just, one of my questions. Well, what I'm saying.
I will eventually.
Well, but I was, one of my next questions was about, I was thinking about your 70th birthday, which, I saw the social media for it. I did not attend. I assume it was sold out. But I was looking at that, and somebody had written up, I think it was a pre-event article. It seemed like it was bringing together multiple parts of things you've done in your career. And I thought, gosh, most people don't get something like that, except maybe at their wedding, where they're the different communities that they've been part of at work, or maybe it's faith and beliefs, and maybe they're a parent or not, I don't know, whatever. But all those people get folded in together in one space.
Or their funeral.
Right, which they don't get to enjoy.
Right, exactly.
Right, weddings or funerals. And I was wondering what did that feel like for you to have? I mean, it felt like a lot of at least people who could come did, and a lot of the people you've worked with for really long, came together. What was that like for you?
It was great. It was really great. I mean, and it started out by, I knew I wanted to be playing music on my birthday.
Okay.
On my 70th birthday. It's the way I celebrate. It's the, it's the juice. It's my juice. It's kind of my lifeline in a way, playing music and dancing. And I've had the opportunity of working with such great people over the years. And my groups have been really diverse in terms of their focus.
Right.
It's like, so, which I love, because it gives me, I usually form a group when I have an idea that I need to get out of my head. Otherwise, no, really, it just kind of rolls around in there
and bothers you.
It bothers me after a while. So it's the only way I can get it out is to realize it in the world.
Okay.
So, I've had all these great groups, and a lot of the people were available and down for coming. So I kind of reassembled a lot of those ideas, and it was so special to me, to be able to, because these people are really special to me. I can't work with someone that I don't really care for.
Okay.
I did that earlier in my career. I don't do that anymore. Talent is one thing, and I can be blown away by talent, but if I don't resonate with them as a person, I'm probably not going to stick around that long. I want to feel close. I want to feel simpatico with who I'm working with. That's really important to me. So I had all these amazing people, who were talented and that I really loved. And it was a great night of music for me. I just, that's how I wanted to spend my 70th.
Yeah. And, for me as a podcaster, it's all just one big octopus. Like, I just interviewed Destiny Wolf day before yesterday. And have the whole Bobby McFerrin thing, and I know you've done some work with him as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was in my group Slammin for several years.
Right. I mean, it's just, and that's the one thing that I can understand actually how your birthday happened, is because I literally can sing a note and probably hit an artist around here. So, there's just a lot of rich talent.
Well, that's why many of us ended up here and stayed.
And stayed, yeah. Besides body, which you tell me if that's favorite instrument, what is your favorite instrument right now?
Right now, well, the drum set
Okay.
and upright bass.
The upright bass. Okay, so the things.
But I gotta say, I've been during the pandemic. Well, actually, kind of post the end of the pandemic here, I've been studying piano. Something I wanted to do
Okay.
for a long time, but because I toured so much, I was never home. I didn't have the consistency
Right.
to practice and all. So now that I've been home
Okay.
more, I played more piano. I'm really enjoying the piano, but that's not to perform. That's just for fun.
You sure it's not to perform?
Not at this point. I have no plans. I'm not desiring that. You know, maybe it will happen at some point. I don't know.
Okay.
But in the meanwhile, I'm assembling a vast repertoire of slow and sad songs in different genres.
What are you gonna do with that? Stuff. No, let me be clear. It's stuff you're writing, or you
No.
just okay. Oh.
No, covers.
Oh, covers.
But I have the filter that it always changes them a lot. You know, I have ways that I like to play music covers. You know, I like to change them up. But my son came in one night and he says, "Dad, do you know how sad it is to come home every night with you playing slow and sad songs?" So I tried to vary it a little bit.
That was inspiring. Be sure to listen again soon. This is Chromodanic Watt for Agile Vocalist Podcast.